Have you ever thought about whether every angel that fell stayed fallen? What if, hidden under centuries of silence from the heavens, one didn't? One angel who fell with Lucifer, but made his way back, not cast out, not destroyed, but returned to heaven carrying something so heavy, so dangerous. It had to be locked away before humans even stood upright. His name is Namtael. And what he carried could change everything we think we know about the war in heaven and why that war may not be over. But then why isn't he mentioned in Scripture? Why would heaven accept one of the fallen back in? And most of all, what did he witness in that dark place that heaven never wanted revealed? If you're willing to keep listening, I'll take you into a story spoken only in whispers by early believers, hidden in ancient texts, and feared by the watchers themselves. But first, this is Bible Mysteries, where we explore what lies beyond the surface of Scripture. If you're fascinated by angels, spiritual battles, and the deep truths hidden in the Bible, like, subscribe, and tap the bell, so you never miss what's next. Who was Namtael? Long before the world was formed, before the stars were placed like jewels across space, Namtael stood in the inner parts of heaven. He wasn't a warrior like Michael. He wasn't a messenger like Gabriel. Namtael had a quieter role. He kept the records. He was the keeper of time, memory, and heavenly prophecy. His name meant recorder of God, a divine scribe who didn't just document actions, but even intentions. He knew what was coming, yet was forbidden to intervene. He walked the halls of eternity, watched stars come alive in silence, and wrote down every angel's choice, even before they made it. But Namtael had one weakness. He felt too deeply. He wasn't distant like other scribes. He was moved by the beauty of creation. He was drawn to the fragile yet sacred design of humanity. So when Lucifer began spreading doubt among the angels, Namtael didn't oppose him. He listened, not because he agreed, but because he wanted to understand. That's where everything began. Let me ask you something real. Have you ever been caught between two sides, unsure where to stand? Not because you're weak, but because you see a piece of truth in both? That was Namtael. He didn't fall because he was evil. He fell because he was torn. And when the great rebellion came, when a third of the stars were swept away, Namtael was among them. But not for the reasons you might assume. When the heavens broke into war, it wasn't fire or fury that overtook Namtael. It was silence. That deep, aching silence that follows broken trust. The kind where time itself seems to pause. Namtael didn't scream with rebellion like Lucifer. He didn't cry out with hate. He simply fell, with his scrolls still clutched in his hands. He saw Michael's sword strike across the skies, watched light dim into anger. Yet even though he didn't fight against heaven, he also didn't take its side. So Namtael was counted among the fallen. But unlike others who delighted in their fall, who burned and cursed, Namtael remained still. He fell not with rage, but with sorrow. Imagine that. An angel of memory cast into a realm where memory becomes twisted, where nothing is clear. This was not hell, not the lake of fire. It was worse. A place between, where the fallen wait, where time breaks down, where regret becomes its own cage. The ancients called it outer darkness, the place where the watchers were bound, where silence doesn't mean peace. It means something is watching you. Namtael wandered there, holding his scrolls close, trying to write, but the ink would blur. Because even his divine pen could not hold truth in a place made of lies. Here's what's strange. Namtael was never claimed by Lucifer. Lucifer, proud and commanding, claimed many of the fallen. Azazel, Samael, Ashtaroth. They pledged loyalty. But Namtael walked alone. The demons didn't trust him. Heaven had closed its gates. He became a legend, even among the lost, the scribe without a place. But deep in that darkness, Namtael found something not even Lucifer had seen. A doorway, not physical, but a veil, a boundary where heaven and the abyss briefly touched. And from the other side came a voice, not angelic, not demonic, but something older, a voice that didn't tempt, didn't curse. It asked only one thing. Why do you still carry the scrolls? Namtael answered without words. Because if I don't remember the truth, no one will. Then the voice changed. It began to show him visions, not of the past, not of the rebellion, but of the future. A future even heaven hadn't prepared for. A coming war that would make the first rebellion seem like a mere tremor. There in the heart of the abyss, Namtael wrote it down. Every vision, every betrayal, every cry. The scroll became something new, not just prophecy, but a weapon. A record so powerful that even the seraphim would tremble to read it. No fallen angel had ever returned, at least not truly. There were legends, whispers, and forgotten writings that some had been forgiven, hidden, but never like this. Namtael didn't plead. He didn't trick his way back. He walked straight toward the gates of heaven, his head bowed, his scroll bound in chains. The angels guarding heaven, seraphim with wings of fire and eyes like suns, recognized him instantly. Namtael had walked these roads before. He knew their names. He had once recorded their very thoughts. Now they looked at him like a stranger, a danger. And when they lifted their swords to strike, he didn't resist. He knelt. Then Michael came, the archangel of battle, with a sword still glowing from the old war. He thundered, "Namtael, why have you returned?" Namtael said only this, "Because what I carry doesn't belong in the pit and cannot stay with me." Michael, ready to fight, hesitated, because he saw something in Namtael's face he didn't expect. Not fear of punishment, not fear of death, but fear of what was coming. Heaven has its own laws, its own ways. Namtael was brought before the throne. The book of Enoch tells us what happens when a fallen angel comes before God's presence. His presence is like fire, undoing what's not worthy. Most don't survive that moment. But Namtael was allowed to speak, and when he opened the scroll, even the 24 elders turned their eyes away. He didn't read it out loud. He only said, "This was never meant to be known, but I couldn't let it be lost." What was in that scroll? Some believe it foretold another war in heaven. Others say it held the names of angels who would betray God in the last days. Some think it revealed what God whispered to Lucifer before casting him out. The secret that made Lucifer smile as he fell. Whatever it was, God read it, and for 7 days, the skies were silent. Then a decision was made. Namtael could stay, but not as he once was. He couldn't rejoin the scribes. He wouldn't sing with the choirs. He would live on the edges of heaven, watching, writing, a quiet guard for a storm that hadn't yet begun. And the scroll? It was sealed, wrapped in 7 layers of divine markings, hidden in a chamber with no light, guarded by an angel whose name is unknown. Only God can open it, and only at the end. They say heaven is built on truth, but what if truth is too dangerous to speak? Namtael came back from darkness with a scroll chained in holy light, sealed with silence, written in a language only heaven could read. No angel has ever described what's inside. No part of it was ever added to the sacred records. Even the eternal scribes were told not to copy it, but the few who saw it changed. Some began fasting without being told. Some wept without knowing why, because the scroll held more than prophecy. It held a deadly secret. One ancient story says it contains the future betrayal of heaven by another angel. Not Lucifer, not from the first fall, but one still to come. Namtael didn't return to accuse. He returned to record, so that when the signs began, someone in heaven would know where to look. Some believe the scroll contains a name, the name of the angel who will betray heaven in the end. That's why it was sealed, because if anyone reads that name too soon, it could start a war before its time, a war that could destroy half of creation before prophecy is fulfilled. So heaven stayed silent, and Namtael accepted that silence. He lives now with that burden. Can you imagine it? Carrying a secret that could break the order of heaven, yet never allowed to speak. Every time he sees another angel, he wonders, is it you? Every time he looks at the earth and sees chaos, he wonders, is this it? Would you carry that weight? Could you stay quiet as the world moved toward disaster, just because God said, not yet? That's Namtael's burden. He's not a fighter, not a judge. He's a witness, a watcher. And that scroll may not be open until the last trumpet sounds. But here's what should stay with you. Why did God let him see it? A fallen one, a returner, a soul once broken. Why Namtael? Unless it's because of where he's been, because he knows what darkness really is. He's walked through silence and fire and come back. Maybe that's why he was chosen. Maybe he's the only one who'll recognize the final darkness when it rises again. This isn't a story that ends in victory or loss. It ends in a secret. Namtael wasn't welcomed with music. He wasn't restored to honor. He wasn't given a new task. He waits, on the edge of heaven, near the veil that separates eternity from time, still holding that scroll. That same scroll, wrapped in 7 seals, rests in a hidden place beyond any angel, any demon, or any human. Only God knows if it will ever be opened. And if it is, that means the end has begun. Maybe Namtael wasn't allowed to fight because his purpose hasn't started yet. Maybe the final war won't begin with a trumpet, but with a whisper. And maybe Namtael is the one who will speak it. But here's the part that includes you and me. We live now, in the middle of this story, between the silence and the sound. We don't know what's written in the scroll. Maybe we're not meant to. Maybe what matters isn't what Namtael saw. Maybe it's what we choose to see right now. Are we the kind of people who notice signs, who see beyond the surface, who ask not to doubt, but to understand? Are we paying attention or sleeping through it all? Because Namtael might be watching. Maybe he stands quietly by your side. Maybe he sees your tears, the ones no one else does. Maybe he writes your name when you choose kindness over pride, grace over revenge. He's not here to scare you. He's here to witness what others ignore. And maybe one day, when that scroll is opened, your name will be inside. Not as a warning, but as proof that even during silence, someone stood for light. Hold on to that. You don't need a sword or wings, just open eyes and the courage to remember that heaven still watches. And sometimes, so does a fallen angel who came back with one last secret.